Star swimmer Riley Gaines has a bone to pick with San Francisco State University. Gaines was attacked during a protest there last week. A university official later praised students for a peaceful protest. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more.
Former NCAA swimmer Riley Gaines spoke at a Saving Women's Sports rally at the university. Gaines advocates against men competing in women's sports. Protesters gathered in the hallway chanting, "Trans rights are human rights and it's time to fight." Someone then turned off the lights, and Gaines says she was cornered behind a podium and attacked, struck multiple times by a man who identifies as a woman. Gaines escaped with campus police to a room where she was barricaded for hours. Protesters stood outside yelling, "Open the door, we want Riley. It's time she gets the justice she deserves."
You're dressed like a communist.
Gaines says the protesters also screamed at the cops, calling them pigs. Student Affairs Vice President Jamila Moore later issued a statement saying the trans community is welcome at the university. Moore says she is proud of the moments when the students demonstrated the value of free speech and the right to protest peacefully, and commended the so-called tremendous bravery it took to stand in a challenging space, the space being the talk by Gaines. She did not address the assault of Riley Gaines in her statement. Gaines says Jamila Moore has since blocked her on Twitter. Gaines thinks it's easier for Moore to ignore her than to denounce violence against women. But according to Gaines, she won't be able to ignore a lawsuit. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
The Chinese regime conducted live-fire military drills around Taiwan over the weekend. The exercises started the day after Taiwan's president returned from a visit to the U.S. Taiwan's armed forces responded by launching military drills of their own. NTD's Jeremy Sandberg has more on the drills and the reaction from U.S. lawmakers.
The Chinese regime surrounded Taiwan with warships and dozens of fighter jets on Saturday. Live-fire training drills were held. The Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, says the three-day exercises are combat readiness patrols. The simulated naval blockade is in retaliation to meetings between U.S. lawmakers and the president of the self-ruled island last week. The CCP calls the meetings a provocation and promised resolute actions and countermeasures in response. Taiwan's defense ministry says it detected 8 warships and 71 planes near the island on Saturday. 45 planes were reported flying across the middle line of the strait that separates Taiwan from mainland China. Taiwan's Army, Navy, and Air Force launched their own drills in response. Representative Mike Gallagher, chairman of the House Select Committee on China, attended the meeting with Taiwan's president. He said Saturday the U.S. needs to take the threat to Taiwan seriously. The Chinese regime claims Taiwan is part of its territory, despite never having ruled the island. It's vowed to take control of the self-governed island by force if necessary. Gallagher says Congress should step up its military commitments to Taiwan and that the U.S. should quickly send weapon systems for its defense. Representative Mike McCall, chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, says it's possible the CCP could take Taiwan over without a shot fired. McCall says the CCP will try to influence Taiwan's next presidential election in January. The CCP has scheduled more live-fire drills around the island on 5 dates over the next 2 weeks. Jeremy Sandberg, NTD News.
Welcome back. It's National Siblings Day today. To celebrate, let's hear from one family what this day means to them and what makes their sibling bond special.
I think, whenever he would always try and help me with basketball and I wouldn't let him, I think that made me want to just...
There's a story that we were playing basketball and I was helping my sister, train, and she did not, like the advice coming from her older brother. So she started to get mad and she started yelling at me, and then it ended up with her chasing me with the basketball. That was
pretty funny. Is that the same one you were referring to, Cameron?
Yeah.
What does it mean for you to be an older brother? What kind of responsibilities do you feel?
I feel that there's a lot of responsibilities coming with experience due to the fact that I feel that I've experienced, some things that she has yet to experience, and I could help her out with things that I've experienced before that she, needs help with at the time. And also with our parents, So, since I'm the older sibling, I feel like I know, my parents a little bit well. I can help my sister out with getting in trouble and things like that.
How was it having two kids in the house? I mean, I have friends that tell me there can be chaos and destruction, but what was your experience?
Well, when they were little, they were always competing. It's always a competition. And we've got Mr. Know-it-all, and then the one that wants to know it all. So it was a fight. But now they're like best friends. They work together. I can rely on them. I have no problems with them. But the bond that they share, whether they know it or not, is just fantastic because they truly have each other. And they've had, experiences that most don't around here, with him being of color. But she has always got him and he's always got her, and it's just beautiful, really. I got a phone call from my best friend one day, and she's like, if Cameron is upset when she comes home, I'm sorry. I'm like, really? What happened? She said, well, I had to break the news to her that she wasn't, she's not black. And I thought, well, I think she knows, She goes, no, she really was upset. And it was silly and funny at the time, but I really got to thinking about it, and like, it's beautiful because it just shows the innocence, of a child. There's no difference. She didn't see anything different, So I love sharing that.
Yeah, that's so precious. Kaden and Cameron, coming back to you guys, what does National Siblings Day mean for you?
I feel that National Siblings Day is a wonderful day of celebrating the love between a bond of a brother and sister, something that can never be unbroken. You will always have your brother and sister there with you no matter what, whether the age difference or not, or the disagreements growing up. I feel that it's a day of celebration for your loved one.
Yeah.
It's amazing that we got all of you on, so thanks for chatting with me today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
As the second most visited zoo in the U.S., the Houston Zoo now has one more special charm to its many attractions, the world's very first exhibit of the famous Galapagos Islands. Let's take a look.
Our Galapagos Islands.
After turning 100 years old in 2022, the Houston Zoo is debuting the world's first major exhibit of the Galapagos Islands.
This truly is a representation of the Galapagos. It's the only exhibit outside, number 2, Galapagos in the world. The only thing closer to it is the real thing.
According to the release, the major Galapagos Islands off the coast of Ecuador is one of the most special places on the planet. The majority of reptiles, mammals, birds, and plants there are found nowhere else in the world and are considered most endangered species.
We have our dominant male Jonah that's also a rescue. He was found when he was very young, separated from his mom somehow, and never learned to hunt on his own.
Most of the representative animals in the new exhibit are closely related species to those on the Galapagos Islands, including sharks, penguins, tortoises, and more. Funds raised from the exhibit will help the Houston Zoo run its conservation programs on the Galapagos Islands and protect the animals there from endangerment. NTD News, Texas.